Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. In this video we dive into the recent explosion at Russia's Plesetsk Cosmodrome and explore its implications for the future of the country's strategic nuclear missile program.
The situation surrounding the recent explosion at the Plesetsk Cosmodrome in Russia has come to light. New satellite images of the Cosmodrome appeared online, providing a clearer picture of what happened there. During the test of the intercontinental ballistic missile ICBM Sarmat, a massive explosion occurred. The scale of the explosion was immense, not because of a warhead, there was no nuclear warhead involved as the missile was a test model, but due to the sheer size of the missile. The Sarmat is the largest missile in the Russian military. It essentially reaches space, functioning as a space rocket, from where the warhead descends onto its target. In fact, Sarmat was intended to become the foundation of Russia's nuclear missile forces. These new images show that the explosion at the Cosmodrome obliterated the entire launch pad, designed for testing and launching heavy ballistic missiles. Nothing remains. There is now a massive gaping crater several dozen meters in diameter. The explosion was so powerful that it destroyed communication systems, power grids, fuel storage depot, and several nearby buildings. Scientists, engineers, and technicians present at the site were killed. Typically, before any missile launch, including test launches, personnel take cover in a special bunker from where they observe the launch. However, in this case, the explosion happened before the launch, while the missile was still being prepared for takeoff. The rocket's fuel exploded, destroying the missile and the Cosmodrome's infrastructure, as well as the specialists working on its development and testing. This means that in the coming years, Russia will definitely not receive a reliable, high-quality, silo-based strategic missile of its own design and manufacture. It's also worth mentioning that Russia isn't having much success with submarine-based nuclear missiles either. The relatively new Bulava missile, which is launched from nuclear submarines, often malfunctions in flight and fails to reach its target. About a third of all its launches have been unsuccessful. Regarding the other launches, the Russian Ministry of Defense modestly states that the exercises were deemed successful. What does deemed successful mean? There are successful exercises and unsuccessful ones, but deemed successful implies they were just satisfactory. Honestly, it's hard to tell how these exercises, labeled as successful, truly went, as almost all information on this matter has been heavily censored since Vladimir Putin's fourth term in power. Initially, some information about failed Bulava launches leaked out, but it was soon entirely suppressed. In Putin's Russia, it's prohibited to discuss failures or shortcomings in the nuclear missile sector. Under Putin, it's clear that Russia's nuclear missile capabilities are not advancing but rather rapidly degrading. This is evident from satellite images. If it weren't for these space-based images of the massive crater at the Cosmodrome, Russia likely wouldn't have reported the failed launch. When Dmitry Peskov, Putin's press secretary, was asked about the failed missile launch, he replied, "We know nothing about this. It's the first we've heard of it." Of course, Putin and the Kremlin know about the incident, but they choose not to comment to avoid embarrassment, especially since the US recently conducted a successful test of their own thermonuclear missile, the Minuteman III, which hit its target precisely at the expected time and location. I suspect Putin wanted to showcase his own newest missile in response to the successful American test, attempting to prove that Russia still poses a credible nuclear threat. But as we've seen, the test went disastrously wrong. The foundation of Russia's nuclear missile forces remains Soviet-era missiles, which are gradually being retired due to age. Some are 40 to 50 years old. And, as we can see, new missiles are failing to perform. Putin once showed the world some cheap, poorly made animations of futuristic self-propelled torpedoes and nuclear-powered missiles supposedly devastating America, specifically targeting Florida. But in reality, if a nuclear war were to break out, there's no guarantee that Russian missiles would even launch, given that the older ones are failing and the newer ones aren't operational. There are several reasons for this gradual collapse of Russia's nuclear missile sector. The first reason is the mass emigration, imprisonment, and loss of expertise among Russian scientists, as well as their natural aging. During the Soviet era, the scientific community boasted figures like Professors Landau, Kapitsa, and Sakharov. Today, the main Russian academic is Ramzan Kadyrov. I can't even name any other prominent academics besides him. Kadyrov, by the way, is officially opposing the teaching of Darwin's theory of evolution in Russian schools. And in some sense, his position is understandable. After all, why bother with Darwin's theory when you have spiritual values? However, this presents a problem. In any country at any given moment, you either embrace scientific progress like nuclear science or reject it in favor of religious dogma. You can't have both thermonuclear missiles and reject evolutionary theory. The two don't coexist. As we can see, spiritual values are winning, and academic Kadyrov has outshined the likes of Landau. Congratulations to Russia on that. Another issue, not so much scientific but societal, is that under Putin, Russia has become a society built on corruption, lies, and violence. These three pillars form the foundation of the Russian regime. But in such an environment, scientific and technological progress halts. Progress can't thrive where corruption, deceit, and violence reign. The more repressive a country, the weaker its scientific achievements. You can steal scientific secrets from the West, but that won't sustain you for long. Another reason for the decline of Russia's nuclear triad is the war with Ukraine. Without the Yuzhmash plant and the Yuzhnoye Design Bureau in Dnipro, formerly Dnipropetrovsk in Ukraine, Russia lacks Ukrainian expertise to build solid ICBMs. The entire Soviet missile building school was located in Dnipro. Finally, the loss of the few remaining missile experts in the Plesetsk explosion and on the battlefield makes it clear that Putin is gradually flushing all of the Soviet legacy, not only in space but also in missile building, down the drain. In conclusion, the explosion at the Plesetsk Cosmodrome not only highlights the technical failures of Russia's latest intercontinental ballistic missile program, but also exposes the deep-rooted decline of its strategic nuclear missile sector. The rapid degradation of expertise, compounded by the loss of key specialists in this recent incident, signals a long-term setback for Russia's nuclear ambitions. Without the expertise and legacy of Ukrainian ICBM manufacturers from the Yuzhmash plant and the Yuzhnoye Design Bureau in Dnipro, Ukraine-Russia's missile development capabilities are unlikely to recover. These Ukrainian institutions were the backbone of Soviet missile engineering, and their absence now leaves Russia unable to rebuild its strategic missile forces effectively. As geopolitical tensions persist, this deterioration could have significant implications for Russia's military posture and global nuclear stability.